This is a CBS News special report. I'm Norah O'Donnell in the nation's capital. We are coming on the air because in just a moment, we will witness yet another moment in history as President Trump becomes the first president to be impeached for a second time. Members of the House are voting on a single charge, incitement of insurrection. I want to bring you now live to pictures of the House floor where just a week ago, I should say, many members of the House were hiding as a mob assaulted the Capitol. The Justice Department calling the Capitol still a crime scene. And it is remarkable to look at Capitol Hill today. There are hundreds of armed National Guard troops protecting the building today. A defense official tells CBS News the threat level at the Capitol is very high and that there are new questions today about the possibility that the riot was in part, quote, an inside job. Of today's vote was in fact heated. If you look now at the House floor, we can show you there are at least 10 Republicans who have voted yes on impeachment this time around. They include Liz Cheney, the number 3 Republican in the House of Representatives. You can remember not a single Republican supported President Trump's first impeachment 13 months ago. There you see Republican 10 voting yay. Let's listen now to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. She is trying to bring the House to order. Of course, the House floor much larger because there are 535 members, 435. There's 100 members of the Senate. They all gathered together for that joint session or for most of them when there is a State of the Union address. So it's much larger than the Senate floor, for instance. And what was, of course, described as the scene of the crime, the U.S. Capitol, by the Department of Justice just yesterday. Many of the members very scared by what happened last week, and to this day are scared about traveling back to the Capitol, as there are still numerous threats out there to some of their lives. And let me ask you about the political repercussions of this, Ed. Are there a number of Republican senators who may ultimately choose to convict the president to sort of slam the door shut on the Trump era? We don't know yet. I mean, if you look at the ones who have publicly stated an openness to this process.
On this vote,
well,
the
let's listen to
ayes
Speaker.
are 232. The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations. And as the gavel has fallen and the Speaker of the House announces the tally, President Trump becomes the only American president to be impeached twice, and twice in just 13 months. That is after only seeing impeachment twice in the century before.
The chair announces that pursuant to Section 3A of House Resolution 41, the House Resolution 40 is hereby adopted.
And their procedural matters continue in the House of Representatives. But I think we ought to just pause just for a moment about the historical significance of what we've just witnessed, Ed.
I mean, what I've been dwelling on all day is it literally requires you writing textbooks. Because we've had, you know, there was Andrew Johnson, there was Bill Clinton, there was Donald Trump. So you had 3 presidents who'd been impeached, 1 who'd resigned. But now you have to add this whole new section, a president who's been impeached twice. And it's just, you know, incredible to now place him in that terrible and disgraceful category alone as a commander-in-chief who's faced this now twice.
Well, they may not want to start reprinting the history books just yet because it's not clear, as we were just talking about, what the Senate may do.
Yes, exactly. And so you're right. They'll have to wait for that, of course. But, you know, either way, he has crossed this threshold now twice. And to do it in 13 months, and to do it in less than a week since, or exactly a week, since this insurrection at the Capitol. It shows you how quickly, how infuriated they were, how scared they remain, how concerned they are. And again, we heard it over and over again today from members. If this isn't impeachable, then what on earth could possibly be for a president?
News. This has been a CBS News special report. Thank you for joining us. I'm Norah O'Donnell, CBS News, Washington.
For news 24 hours a day, go to cbsnews.com.
Look at this, 215 members now have voted in favor, including 9 Republicans, and that's very significant. The last time, as you and I well remember, the president was impeached, President Trump was impeached, no Republicans voted in the House in favor of impeachment, but already 9 have voted right now.
Right. One independent, Justin Amash, who had just left the Republican Party, did vote to impeach the president.
Here it is. Here it is right now. 217 has just been reached. We've just witnessed a truly solemn moment in American history. The House of Representatives has reached the threshold for making Donald J. Trump the only president of the United States to be impeached for a second time. Unlike his first impeachment, this is a bipartisan vote. At least 9 Republicans agreeing with Democrats that this president poses a threat to U.S. national security and to democracy, that he incited the riot at the U.S. Capitol by repeatedly lying that he won the election and by urging his supporters to, in his words, fight like hell. As he heads into the final week of his term, the 45th president of the United States now is poised to face trial in the United States Senate. And there you see the numbers. We'll show the numbers up on the screen one more time, but this is a truly historic moment. Now 225 votes in favor of impeachment, and 10 Republicans, as you can see, have now voted in favor of impeaching the president of the United States.
Here we go. 232. The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations.
So the House has impeached Donald Trump for the second time, but for the first time with Republicans. 10 Republicans crossing the aisle to vote for impeachment, including the number 3 Republican, Liz Cheney, the daughter of a former vice president, in an extraordinary moment, 1 week, almost to the hour, after rioters stormed the Capitol, leaving 5 dead.
The chair announces that pursuant to Section 3A of House Resolution 41, the House Resolution 40 is hereby adopted.
And dotting the I there, but again, as you note, Savannah, President Trump has been impeached again.
Clause 11 of Rule 1, in the order the following of the House of January 4th, 2021, of the following members of the House to the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence.
Let's bring it.
Mr. Schiff of California, Chair. Mr. Nunes of California.
So we'll continue to keep our eye on the floor, but the action now moves to the Senate. And there is some suspense, Chuck, as I bring you into this conversation into what exactly could happen there. Now, we know something of the when. We know it won't be before January 19th. The Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has made that clear as of today. He is not going to use any mechanism to try to bring the Senate back in early. Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader of the Senate, had been floating an idea to do that, but that is not going to happen. So we won't see the Senate in session until at least January 19th. But the question is, then what? How might a trial proceed? Will Republicans cross over to convict? Will enough to remove from office or ban President Trump from holding future federal office if he's already left? Because, of course, the other date to mark on your calendar, January 20th, which is the date that the new president is inaugurated.
Well, here's one thing I would say. Today's January 13th. The start of this trial is January 19th. We're going to learn a lot in 6 days. We're going to get more. Well, every hour we see more people charged. We learn more information about the plot from last week. There is more facts that are filled in. And ask yourself, how much more will we know on January 19th than we know today? That said, you never know what time does, right? What is that? What does time do? Does time calm the waters in the GOP? Does suddenly Lindsey Graham, who apparently is becoming the chief defender against impeachment for President Trump in the Senate, does he have some success finding, he needs at this point to find to sort of lock in approximately 35 Republicans to do this.
And don't forget the biggest X factor, Chuck, which is President Trump himself. I noted, I noted that President Trump making his first public appearance, his live public appearance yesterday on his way to Texas, his remarks were followed within just a matter of hours by Mitch McConnell, that report in the New York Times saying, you know, maybe he's open to impeachment. And it's very notable. I mean, it's Washington. We read into things maybe when we shouldn't. But I thought that was very striking.
I don't mean to interrupt you, sir. I don't mean to interrupt you, sir. But the president has formally been impeached in the House of Representatives, 217 votes with what you needed. He's now they've gotten that much at the very least, and a number of votes to come, including talk that we could get anywhere from a half dozen to, when all is said and done, maybe up to 10 to 12 Republicans
to vote here. So right now, 231 yeas, 197 nays. 5 members have not voted. And remember that they can vote by proxy. So let's listen here for a minute.
Just to let you know, the vote is now final. 231 U.S. congressmen and women have voted to impeach the president of the United States. That includes 10 Republicans. That number was going up throughout the day, and a bigger margin that did not go strictly along party lines as it did in the House 13 months ago. They're calling this over now as this now moves to the United States Senate. The timing is the issue here. Mitch McConnell has already indicated that it is probably unrealistic for the time being to get them to move before the 19th, the day before.
On this vote, the ayes are
the State of the Union. Let's listen.
The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations. On this vote, the ayes are 232. The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
It has passed. The gavel has fallen. 232 yes votes for the impeachment of Donald John Trump. Just extraordinary. It has happened twice now to President Trump. Only president in American history to be impeached twice, just 7 days, less than 7 days now left in his term. We haven't heard much from the president today. We should be hearing from him at some point later today. He's under some pressure to say more, to speak out against the violence, to lower the possibilities that he faces, Lindsey Davis, an actual conviction in the Senate.
You know, and historically, it's interesting to note that between the first and second impeachments in our country's history, we're talking about a span of 130 years. And now between the third and the fourth, just 13 months. It's also interesting that going into today, you know, in the election, we heard so much from both sides talking about we're fighting for the soul of this country. And the election's over. The debate continues. We saw that fight again inside the Capitol today. Both sides were saying that we've got to put people before politics. Both sides were quoting Abraham Lincoln. They were fighting the same point, but then arriving at a different conclusion. And one congressman summed it up by saying, are we going to condone through acquiescence or condemn through impeachment? In the end, they decided to condemn through impeachment.
On this vote, the ayes are 232. The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations. That's it. What now?